My guests are Glenn Smith, law professor at Cal Western School of Law, and Lilia Valesquez, an immigration and naturalization attorney and an adjunct professor also at Cal Western. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Glenn, I want to start with you. Both sides are claiming victory. We have the president who wanted this law struck down, saying, hey, I got sort of what I wanted, and Arizona's governor who says, hey, the key part of the law, show me your papers, that was upheld. What's your take?
This always happens when the court neither supports completely one side or completely the other. You get the question, is the glass half full or half empty, right? I will say that certainly if you do the numbers, the federal government won more than it lost. It got 3 provisions invalidated of the 4. All of those could have been upheld under different scenarios by this court. And on the 4th issue that many people are saying the court approved, it did not technically approve Arizona's show me your papers, quote unquote, proposal. It just said it's too early now to invalidate it based on what the federal government said because it hasn't even been interpreted or applied. But the court left the door open for both the federal government to come in and claim that there was an interference with federal priorities that had not been anticipated, or more importantly, individuals to come in and challenge it on the basis that it's being discriminatorily applied.
What 3 provisions of the law were struck down?
The 3 provisions would have allowed Arizona and many of the other states that were in line waiting to do this to help enforce the federal requirement that individuals have registration, proper registration for immigration. It would have allowed states to penalize employees who worked illegally or tried to work illegally. And it also would have helped with removing people from the United States who the state thought should be removable. So on these key federal priorities of aliens registering, employment, and in removability from the country, the court sent a pretty clear message that it was a federal priority and states should not get involved in that.
So, Lilia, now that we have one part of this law still being upheld, who will this impact?
Well, let me first add to what Glenn said, if
Sure.
it's okay. The way that I see it is that we both lost. I mean, certainly Arizona lost 3 of the provisions in the bill, and we lost the most egregious part of the legislation, which is show me your papers. So in that sense, I mean, we're very disappointed. Now, in terms of the impact in the community, we're feeling it already. I mean, this is what people are discussing today. Everybody has been waiting for the decision from the Supreme Court, and it took them so long to issue that decision that, we were just very impatient, and we knew it was going to come down today. People are afraid. People are afraid that the sentiment that prevails in Arizona is also going to spill over into San Diego, especially when you consider that the number of people that have been arrested in the last few years has been the highest of any presidential administration.
Arrested here in San Diego or across the country?
In San Diego and across the country. But every day people get arrested. And
arrested for being an undocumented immigrant, or arrested and then turned over to ICE for being an undocumented immigrant?
Arrested for either violating a traffic infraction, after which then the police officer will call on ICE or the Border Patrol, or arrested simply because they look to be in the country without documents. And that is the issue that really concerns me, racial profiling. I just don't see, even if Jim Brewer from Arizona says we're not going to use racial profiling, we're going to obey the law, you can't take racial profiling out of the equation.
I want to talk more about that, but Glenn, I saw you nodding your head because I know people at home now are going to want to sort of know where those numbers come from, that here in San Diego, here in California, people are being arrested.
Well, where I was shaking my head was on the idea that there is still a climate of uncertainty about what really matters to most people, which is what are the limits on state and local law enforcement in doing more than just enforce state and local laws, but actually try to look toward also enforcing federal laws. And I think that the court did not clarify that today. That left a lot of the questions that Lily and many other advocates for immigrant rights and also issues that people on the other side are concerned about. The court simply had an opportunity to wipe out this law. They didn't. But at the same time, they said, these issues are going to might well come back to judicial forums and in some other form.
So then for states or local governments, which, as you say, have been waiting to say, okay, can I do this? They still don't know? This is still an unanswered question?
It is, in the sense that they're saying if you, state police from Arizona, violate the law or use draconian tactics or use racial profiling, we're going to throw this out. So beware. The problem is, and I was discussing this with Glenn earlier, is that how can you not use racial profiling in such situations? And I think that officers that were doing it even before the law was approved today, they're going to be emboldened by the decisions. It's, okay, green light. And I'm not sure that this uncertainty that scholars may have, immigration lawyers may have, really translates to the public, or that people are going to understand it. What you hear in the streets is, show me your papers, is not the law in Arizona.
And we should say that the governor of Arizona did say today police would undergo training they would teach them how not to actually use racial profiling in this. And your point well taken in terms of how do you not. I do want to just play a clip right now. This is from a PBS NewsHour piece, and this is from Russell Pierce, and he is one of the authors of the law, SB 1070. And I just want to show you and the people at home what he had to say about the law. Here it is.
What's coming across that border today are gangbangers, drug smugglers, human smugglers, child molesters, bad guys. They live in fear of their lives. You know, their water lines are cut, their animals are slaughtered, their dogs' throats are cut, their fences are torn down, they're threatened. Some of them have their windows and doors boarded. They pray for daylight. If they hear noises, they don't dare come outside.
Now, Lilia, you spoke about the sentiment behind this law. Is that what you're talking about? Is that sort of the fear when you talk about people here at home?
It is, unfortunately, unfounded fear. I mean, you're mixing two things. General crime, you know, whether in any border city you may have maybe an increase of criminal activity, or some sort of criminal activity. What Russell Pierce has stated has nothing to do with what the Supreme Court decided today. We're not talking about predators. We're not talking about criminals, people caught in the act of doing something heinous. We're talking about your everyday person like me. Take away my suit, take away my shoes, take away the makeup. I have an accent. I could be detained by an Arizona state officer for looking, perhaps, you know, being an illegal immigrant in this country. It has nothing to do with crime. It has to do with just immigration policy.
What I wanted to say is I think that that clip illustrates a bigger picture that we see with immigration, but in general, which is people feel very strongly about law enforcement on one side or the other of this issue and lots of issues. The law is not very good at dealing with that kind of concern, perceptual concern, especially this kind of a challenge is like, is the law valid or not? Before it's even been enforced. The whole question about how is it enforced and with what degree of sophistication and nuance and how many abuses does it take to make a pattern that strikes down a law, and those kind of issues are very, very difficult for the law to deal with in this kind of a is it valid or not context. And so I think that's really partly what's going on here is there's no way the court in whatever it said could have addressed and put to bed all of these concerns.
Now, Lilia, you were here not long ago talking about President Obama's new policy, new immigration policy that says basically if you're under 30, you were brought here, illegally when you were just a kid, you get to stay and you get to work. Now, can't you see in Arizona the potential for that colliding now with the show me your papers?
There's definitely a clash now between what Arizona would do in terms of the implementation of SB 1070 and the two policies by the Obama administration. One, don't deport anybody that is not a criminal. Two, maybe the Dreamers, which just came out on the 15th of June, if they meet the criteria, we're going to let them stay. Not only that, we're going to give them a work permit. So they're going to have some pseudo-legal immigration status. Therefore, will the state police in Arizona be able to make that distinction? And if they see somebody that seems to meet the profile of a dreamer that may qualify for deferred status, are they going to let that person go because it would be a waste of time to take them into custody? Or are they just going to arrest that person because they're doing their job and they want the numbers to go up and to show, you see, we were right. Thanks to us, because now we're partnering with the federal government, we're arresting more people and we're going to deport them. It's a mess.
We have so many more unanswered questions. I know we have a lot of links on our website. There's also a longer conversation from midday. That's kpbs.org. I want to thank you both for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.